For this exercise, I'd like you to have available a picture, a painting or a poster or even a photograph, either on your wall or your computer or somewhere in front of you. It doesn't really matter, just something that you can spend a few minutes gazing at. So in last week's exercises, we learned to focus on your body and your breath as a way of becoming aware of your own physicality and finding ways to slow yourself down. Body and breath awareness also helps us to focus our mindful practice on certain aspects of ourselves, rather than being overwhelmed by all that you might perceive in yourself, your baby, or your environment. Today we're going to move from body and breath awareness to focusing on the senses. Using our senses is a wonderful way into mindfulness, as our senses can be our focal point and connect our external environment with our sensory experience. In every moment we use at least one of our senses. They provide incoming information and help us adapt to our environment. Because it's easier to break things down into manageable chunks while we're learning mindfulness skills, we will begin by focusing on one sense at a time. We'll start by focusing on you, and then we focus on using your senses as a way to mindfully interact with your baby. As with all mindful practice, we need to remember to be curious about the experience at hand. Observe in the present moment and use language to describe your observations. During your practice, try to remember those key principles we discussed in the last podcast of being present, taking up a non-judgmental stance, using compassion, and acceptance. So following are two short mindfulness exercises that will focus on our vision. These ones are just for you at the moment. In the next exercise, we'll focus on how you can use visual mindfulness with your baby. So let's begin by finding ourselves a comfortable position. And when you're ready, bring your focus to your breath. Becoming curious and noticing how you breathe. Being mindful of your breath now through that notice, observe, and watch. Just noticing and being curious about your breath as it flows in and out. Just taking that few minutes just to notice it in as much detail as you can. And when you're ready, I'd like you to move your focus onto your picture that we talked about earlier. We're going to take a minute or two just noticing and seeing if we can really notice the detail about this picture. I'm going to give you a few prompts as we go. I want you to start by trying to put some words on what you see in a descriptive way, as if you were describing the picture to someone who can't see it. Try to stay curious and just notice. Try not to make any of those evaluative judgments about what you like or what you don't like. Just describe what you can see in a curious, non-judgmental way. Maybe begin by observing the overall composition of the work. What's in this picture? What's the main focus of attention, the main subjects? Do they have any special meaning for you? Notice the dominant colours represented. How would you describe them? Be as specific as you can. Notice the colour, its intensity, its variability. Is the colour more intense in some parts than others? Are your eyes being led somewhere by the colour or by the line? Is there a story being told? What about how this picture is framed? How would you describe it? What are your eyes drawn to? What are the details that you see? What do you notice in the background? Is there something that your eye is drawn to? Does the background fade away, or is it clear? Slowly bring your awareness back to the here and the now, back to your breathing. You can see that this is a skill that needs to be practiced, and while the principles sound easy, it's challenging to shift from our habitual ways into a more mindful space, a more mindful way of noticing. We're going to have another go now at being mindful with a visual focus, and this time we're going to try a more complex example. This time I want you to move your attention to mindfully look at the room around you. I want you to spend some time just looking at the room around you as if you were a stranger who'd never been in this room before. I want you to really look at it. Take time to notice as much detail as possible. Notice the objects and the details of the objects. Remember, you don't need to make a judgment about whether this room is good, bad, right, wrong, whether you like it or you don't. I want you to look at it with curiosity and that non-judgmental stance. If you find yourself making judgments, bring your mind back to that position of curiosity and wondering. If you find your mind wandering to other things, again gently bring your mind back into that position of curiosity and wondering. Just observe and try to put descriptive words on what it is you see. What are you noticing? As your eyes wander around the rooms, what are the bits that stand out for you? And remember, you're looking at this room through the eyes of a stranger, with curiosity and noticing. How does the room fit together? Turn your attention to the walls. How are they covered? What is their colour? What's the texture? And now turn your attention to the floor. How is this covered? What colour is it? What's the texture? What about the ceiling? What do you notice? What are the light fittings like? How does your body feel in this room? What's the light like? Now slowly bring your attention back into the here and the now. I want you to have a little think and a little reflect on what it's like for you to view your environment in this way. In detail, with purpose, and with curiosity. This is a really good way of practicing mindful observation and opens opportunity to connect with the present moment in whatever environment you're in. By focusing your attention this way, it grounds you in the reality of the present moment. It helps you be in that moment rather than having your body and your emotions pull you in one direction or another. And the other good thing about this kind of a mindful practice is that you can do it wherever you are at that time.